I'm very happy to be here today on Friday afternoon to co-host this event with you, looking at the barriers to business ownership, specifically, obviously, with the DSP program within logistics. So yeah, let's before we get started, there's one thing I quite like to do at the beginning of virtual events. It's just to get everybody a bit warmed up, make sure that we're all excited and participating. I always like to ask the question of the audience as a bit of an icebreaker to what was the, assuming of course everybody is an Amazon customer, what their last Amazon purchase was, because I always find it really fascinating what comes out and what people buy from Amazon day to day. So if you'd like to share in the chat what your most recent purchase was from Amazon, I will share mine. It's actually Christmas toys for the kids. I've been finding that a lot of the toy shops are out of stock at the moment, so we have reverted to Amazon for our Christmas shopping. But probably the strangest thing I ever bought from Amazon is IKEA meatball sauce. When I really fancied some IKEA meatball sauce, and I didn't want to have to drive the 40 minutes to IKEA to buy it. So that's my most recent and my most strangest, probably. Yeah, there we go. Ink, nice. Yes, I also get my ink from Amazon. A Christmas tree, good purchase. Shellac nail varnish. Hay for guinea pigs. A Sky remote control. Hamster food. A book, very nice. Sugar soap, yes, I have some of that stuff. It's brilliant. Christmas presents again. A hook for hanging a mirror, a storm guard. Brussels sprout ketchup. Well, that's the winner. Anne Roberts, that's definitely got to be the winner with Brussels sprout ketchup. I don't even know what that is, but after they finish this session, I'm certainly going to go away and Google it because that's fascinating. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well, thank you all very much. I know that from my perspective, I have 2 children. I work full time. My husband works full time. The convenience of Amazon really helps me and suits my lifestyle, definitely. So I hope it does you too. And why are we here today? Well, we're here today because we want to talk about women in business ownership. We want to keep having these conversations to try and move the needle a little bit. In my current role at Amazon, we look for people who want to be business owners, who want to be entrepreneurs, and we help them to achieve that through the Delivery Service Partner Program. And through that research and through the work that we do in this space, I read a lot of stuff on the internet online about women in business ownership to try and understand how we can reach more women. And I read a report that the government commissioned called the Alison Rose Report. It's really interesting. I absolutely recommend, there's the QR code on the screen if anybody has an interest to download it for free from the internet and have a read of it, because it's super interesting. And it highlighted 4 main barriers that women can face in business ownership. And I think probably some of them translate just generally into the workplace in general as well. But the first one was a fear of failure or lack of confidence. The second one was lack of mentorship or appropriate network. It turns out that men generally tend to have more men in their business network, more businessmen in their network, whereas women would have family members and friends in their network. The third was family care, and the fourth was a lack of funding. So those were the 4 main barriers that were identified through that report. And it just led me to thinking about how can we overcome that? How can we try and challenge those barriers, trying to overcome them, try to support women to overcome them? And obviously, we're not probably going to solve the problem as a whole, but we're going to see what we can do, right? So again, through my research, only 1 in 3 UK entrepreneurs is female. That's a gender gap equivalent of 1.1 million missing businesses. And closing that gender gap in the British entrepreneur space could generate as much as £250 billion for the country's economy. It's a massive space, and it's a massive opportunity as well for women. And obviously, Amazon Logistics, the Delivery Service Partner Program, sits in the logistics space. So as well as researching women in business, I was also looking at women in logistics. And it is a substantial sector. Is the UK's 5th largest sector. 2.54 million people work in logistics and haulage. only 20% of the workforce, the logistics workforce across the UK, is female. That is absolutely crazy. There's so many opportunities in logistics, from, yes, business ownership, but right through to every different role that there exists within this sector. And it's crying out. I mean, it is the backbone of our economy. It's such a growing sector that we really want to try and encourage women to really look at it as an option. And PwC, there's a PwC report that states that companies with the most women board directors outperform those with the least by an incredible 16% in return on sales and 26% in return on invested capital. We really make a difference. We contribute positively, and we really should take advantage of that. And as I said, logistics, it's not going anywhere, right? We can see over the past 18 months, 2 years, the importance of the sector in our economy, and demand for last mile delivery is soaring and is expected to grow globally by 78% by 2030. E-commerce will grow by 17% annually, representing about 20% of global retail share by 2023. And 82% of all consumers have shopped online within a 3-month period. I put my hand up, I'm definitely in that group. And a total of 2.1 billion people are expected to buy goods online by 2021. There couldn't be a better time to get involved in logistics and business ownership in the UK, that's for sure. And before we proceed to the panel, we're going to do a short poll to get your perspective on the barriers to business ownership. What do you think they are? What do you think is stopping potentially you, or just your general thoughts on this topic? So there's a couple of questions that should have popped up on your screen. Please feel free to answer them now, and we will share the results later on. Half of people have answered, but 20 seconds left. Almost there. Got 88% participated. Give another second or so. Okay. Thank you all for your input into the poll. We're going to talk about the results of those in a little while. And what I want to move on to now is to talk about our panelists and talk to our panelists about some of the issues we've just been discussing. So I'm going to hand it back over to Seema, who's going to introduce each of them, and then we will get started with some Q&A with them and get their journey, what their challenges have been, their experiences. So yeah, okay, brilliant. Seema.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gemma. That was some really interesting stats there. So I'm absolutely delighted to welcome our panelists. First of all, first up is Suzanne Brock, founder and managing director at Nutriment. Suzanne, welcome. You can put your camera and show us your lovely face. That would be great. Hey, Suzanne, how are you doing?
Hi. Can you see me? I've had terrible problems with my computer, so I'm on my phone now.
Don't worry, we can see you, we can hear you. I'm just going to give an intro into you. So Suzanne, don't worry, everything's fine. After having run a gamut of careers ranging from army officer to waitress, Suzanne found herself working in the pet food industry in early 2009. Following a change in the management and ethos of the company she was working for, Suzanne quit and decided to set up Nutriment. Now in its 8th year, the company has grown from a standing start to over £10 million turnover, shipping over 400 tons of dog food per month nationwide. Suzanne, welcome, an amazing achievement. And next we have Claire Waite, Managing Director, Reload Logistics Limited. Welcome, Claire. Commissioning into the Royal Air Force in 2001, Claire served a full military career that saw her at the forefront of airspace operations in both the UK and overseas. Retiring from the military in 2018, Claire joined Amazon Logistics as an area manager, again at the forefront of operations, but this time in a logistics environment. 2 years later, and now she owns her own hugely successful logistics company delivering parcels for Amazon. So Claire, do come on camera and so I can welcome you. Hi.
Can you see me? Hi.
Yes, hi Claire, hi. And finally, last but absolutely not least, we have Laura Sugden, Senior Manager, Amazon DSP team. Laura works with over 300 businesses through the Delivery Service Partner Program, partnering together to deliver millions of shipments to customers a week. Laura sits on the Amazon UK Women's Operation Board of Directors and an expansion director responsible for expanding the diversity, equity and inclusion agenda across business lines. So welcome, Laura. And so Gemma, over to you with the panel questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the intros. Welcome to our panel. Super excited to talk to you guys today. We've got a wealth of experience here from across a couple of different sectors and just by fluke, quite a few military backgrounds as well, which wasn't intentional at all. It just kind of played out that way, which is kind of cool also. So I think, Suzanne, if we could start with you, obviously you built, obviously from hearing from Seema, a hugely successful business in quite a short period of time. Interested to know how you got started. I mean, also interested to know, was it something you always had in the back of your mind that you wanted to be a business owner, or was it just you saw an opportunity and ran with it? Great to hear your story.
Hi, Gemma. Yeah, thank you. No, I never wanted to have a business ever. It wasn't a case that I didn't want it. It literally never crossed my mind at all. As it said in my bio, I was in the army, left the army and, you know, worked in the city and did all those sort of ex-army officer jobs. And then when I had a family, I became a full-time mum and filled my time and space and got lipstick money with you know, waitressing and tending bar and stuffing envelopes and doing those kind of things so that I could stay at home with the children. I found myself divorced and in need of a job. And so I went to work for another dog food company and really found a real passion for it. So when that went through its difficult time, I left, and the question was, you know, if I was so passionate and I felt that other people weren't doing it correctly, what would be the only answer to that question? And that's really to do it myself. I think knowing what I know now, because I'm an accidental tourist into business in every sense of the word, but I'm now a businesswoman, would I have done it? No. Because, you know, the beauty was I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And it was a really, that sense of excitement. And what I'm trying to find a way to do with women is to, you know, get them to hang on to that sense of excitement, get them to hang on to that hope and achievement, because it gets you through the really bad times that we all have in business, because it's a roller coaster. It's a constant roller coaster. So I'm trying to find ways to make the more experienced business women not be scared to take massive, you know, kind of risks and leaps of faith. And I'm trying to put the knowledge across that, you know, if you can follow your passion, then all the difficult things don't hurt as much, because you still got that goal in mind. So that's really what I did. I set up June 2013. I had 10,000 square foot. I had 10 staff. I had £750,000 worth of debt against a 3-bedroom semi worth of about 300,000. I was a single mother of 2 children who were just 11 and 12. And I just started, and I just kept going until I got to where we are today, which is, you know, clearly we've done all right.
Yeah, that's incredible. How did you, I mean, my main question here is around the confidence to do that. I certainly would not have the confidence to do that, especially if you were doing it on your own, as you said, divorced, a single parent. Where did that come from? Where did you find that confidence to say, I can do this, I'm going to go and do it?
Well, it's funny enough, you're saying about, you know, that it's by coincidence there's a few people with military backgrounds. I think I'd left the army quite some time before, and I'd forgotten all of it. I think when I found myself in a situation where I had to really dig deep and find, you know, some confidence, real or imagined, find my ability to, you know, make tough decisions, to lead from the front, I did dig into, you know, the past, the things I learned when I was just 21 years old. So there was that. But also, I think as women, you know, any of you who are mothers, particularly single mothers, it is that kind of lioness thing. You are providing for your children. You're not going to screw this up, because your children will be the ones who suffer. You can move back to mum's, you can, you know, you can sleep on a couch, but it's your children that will suffer if you don't make it happen. I believed in my product. I believed in what I was doing. I had and have enormous faith in what I've got and the team around me. But I think really, as women, if we are mothers or daughters or wives or sisters, or, you know, we always have that strength to hold things together. And I do believe that to be true. I've not yet met a woman who hasn't pulled it out of the bag under stress in a way that I don't see men do as often or as well.
Oh, well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one.
Am I right?
I'm going to come back to you in a few minutes because I do have a bunch of follow-up questions that I want to dig into a bit more. So we'll come back. I'm going to go over to Claire, and I guess a similar sort of question to you. Obviously, also the military background. Was business ownership on your mind, or was it actually, here's a great opportunity, I'm going to take it? And how did you make that decision to go from a sort of paid employment, nice and secure, to going out on your own in a logistics third-party delivery business, Claire? If you could talk us through your journey.
A lot of what Suzanne has just said resonates so much with me. Can you hear me all right as well? Yeah. Perfect. So a lot of what Suzanne has just said resonates so much. So business ownership was never, ever on my mind. I went straight from university, not having a clue what I wanted to do, into the Royal Air Force, did an 18-year career, retired, was offered hundreds of opportunities to stay in the military, but I was absolutely fed up of working in a male-dominated environment, fed up of a male hierarchy, fed up of a male boss. And it was always, you know, I want to go and do something else while I'm still young enough to go and try my hand at something else. And Amazon, I'd seen a lot of Amazon. I had a lot of friends who left the military to join Amazon. You know, Gemma, you're a military recruiter for Amazon. You were the military recruiter for Amazon. So I thought, I've got no business knowledge whatsoever, absolutely knew nothing about business or anything other than the military. It's all I'd done for 18 years. So I thought, right, we'll give Amazon a go. I absolutely loved the ethos of Amazon, large team leadership, you know, leading from the front, fast-paced, challenging, very, very challenging. But again, I was in a male-dominated environment. I had a male DSM, delivery station manager for the people who are non-Amazon. I had a male, you know, my regional boss was a male again. And it was just, here I was, everything that I left the military for, 2 years into Amazon, back in that environment of, you know, sacrificing my time at home, sacrificing my time with the children. So all the reasons I'd left the military were still there with Amazon. And then this opportunity came along, and it was like, it was perfect for me because I loved Amazon. I loved everything about, you know, everything you said, Gemma. It's a huge, huge company. The support is brilliant. The friendships are phenomenal. You know, logistics is a huge sector. And this opportunity to become a delivery service partner owner came right at the start of COVID. And I remember being at Amazon as a night shift manager where the volume doubled overnight. I think we doubled from putting out 45,000 parcels to 90,000 parcels within 24 hours. And this opportunity came along and I was like, yeah, I want some of this. I want to be my own boss. I want a piece of this action, and I want to be the female boss, and I want to give this a go. And why not? I think you've hit on there. One of my concerns was the security. I'd come from a very secure job with the military. I came from a very secure job with Amazon. I guess I just went for it. And I say this all the time, and everyone laughs at me. There's so much of what if I fall, what if I fail, but what if you fly, what if you do it? And it was just, it's now or never. And that literally is, I'd love to sit here and say, oh, it was this, it was that, but it was you know, it's now or never, let's just go and do it. And here I am.
And what's it like, sort of not having that person to, when you have a tough situation or a challenge, you can't just look to the person above you to say, right, what do you think I should do? Because you are the top person. So what do you do in those situations?
Do you know what, Gemma? I absolutely love it. I love having nobody to look up to. I've got a great team around me, and I've got I've got some great people. But I think it all goes back to, you know, your previous leadership experience. It goes back to, you know, what Suzanne said, you've got nobody else to turn to, so you've got to find the answer within yourself. You know, and just have confidence and crack on, absolutely crack on and do it and get on with it. And do you know what? Amazon as well. I've still got a lot of friends at Amazon who I can reach out to for support, and the support you get from the station and the management team is great, and they're always there if you are stuck. But I think you've just got to get on with it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And before we move on to Laura, I've got one other question for you. A little birdie tells me that you are one of the top performing DSPs in the EU. And so I want to know, what's your secret? Share it with us, please, Claire.
I think it is, though. I think I've come from that background where, as a female, I've always had to work harder to prove myself. I've always had to do that little bit more in the military. And even at Amazon, I always felt like I had to give that little bit more. And with this, I still feel like I have to give that little bit more. But it's the competitiveness. It's the drive, isn't it, to be the best, wanting to be up there. You know, I'm in a male-dominated environment in logistics, but I want to stand out and I want to hold my place among those people. And I've got a great team. The military has really kind of like set me in good stead for this. And it comes down to leadership and management, isn't it? And believing in what you do and instilling that enthusiasm onto the rest of your team, and then on you go.
And I can see that enthusiasm when you talk about it.
Yeah.
It really shines through. It really does. And it's really awesome. And it is a male dominated environment. Logistics is, you know, 20 is only, I mean, I think Amazon does pretty well on this, on the diversity front generally, but as a sector, we are fighting against the grain a little bit, but we'll see what we can do about that. If we have more of these events, more of these conversations, hopefully we can start to have some impact. Thank you, Claire. I'm going to come back to you a bit later. So Laura, obviously not a business owner, but you work with them and you've had quite an amazing couple of years, or 4.5 years at Amazon, I think it is now, in, again, potentially male-dominated spaces as well. Can you talk us through your journey, you know, where you've come from through Amazon and what you do now and what you love about it, what you enjoy about it? That'd be great.
Thanks, Gemma. Yeah, and thanks, Suzanne and Claire. Some like really amazing, inspirational stories there. Unlike Suzanne and Claire, no military background, and kind of similar to what Claire said there, kind of fumbled through university with no idea what I wanted to do, and fell into the Aldi graduate scheme because at the time I was massively in debt, and I saw they provided a company car, and I thought that's something I want to get involved with. So did that for a number of years, and it was a fantastic kind of view of management, of leadership, and it's, you know, very much straight in at the deep end. But you know, from a young age, I was responsible for the profit and loss of 5 Aldi stores across Scotland. So not business owner directly, but kind of everything that falls underneath that. But unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever way you want to look at it, as Claire said, you had someone kind of there to help you out and support you. After that, I joined Amazon when a friend recommended. It was 5 years ago, where it was still quite big, but nothing on the scale it is now, and started off within customer fulfillment in operations. And it was at that time, and I think you mentioned it there, Gemma, Amazon's done a lot from a diversity perspective, but my first experience with Amazon was straight on night shift, only female leader in the building, only female on night shift. I had no female team members, and it was quite isolating at that point. So I connected through a training course with another woman in Amazon, Gaynor Coulson, who is one of our general managers now, on founding the Women at Operations group within Amazon UK. So starting essentially an affinity group to bring together women from every different part of operations, to kind of create a community, create a network, to support each other, because it can be really lonely, it can be really isolating, especially within the operations and logistics sector. So that's been a huge part of my journey and my time with Amazon, is kind of the founding of that group and the expansion that we've seen across the UK. We've now got thousands of members, and we're looking to expand into EU and NA as well, which is really, really exciting. About 2 years ago, so I think the month before the pandemic, joined Amazon Logistics through kind of the recommendation of a mentor, and then I've been working within the DSP space ever since. So such a huge honor, such a huge privilege, I guess, to work with business owners such as Claire, but here today to kind of promote it more from a female perspective. We've still not got the representation I think that we need or should have. So a huge passion of mine to increase the diversity at business owner level from a female perspective, definitely.
Absolutely. And you touched on it there about the affinity group that you helped establish, which is just awesome. I love Amazon's affinity groups. I mean, the amount of emails I get from the UK at women at Amazon groups, it's amazing what they put together. How important do you think that is, having a network? And you mentioned having a mentor, because that's one of the barriers to female business ownership that was identified through that report, the Alison Rose report, was the lack of appropriate network or mentorship or support.
Yeah, I think it's crucial. And I think if I speak personally or from people I know, like I don't think I would be in the position I'm in at the moment without that network, or I don't know if I'd still, be doing the job I am doing or have made it with Amazon. I think whether you're in logistics, Amazon, whether you own your own business, there are some really low lows as well as the high highs, and some really difficult moments that you come across either personally or professionally, and I think particularly over the last 18 months. And I think having somebody, whether that is a mentor, somebody that's a cheerleader that can drag you out of that, support you, or someone just to speak to, is super key. And I think the affinity group as well is really helpful, or any is, from a role model perspective. So again, what we're doing today, having Suzanne, having Claire to kind of elevate people and say, look, you can do this, and it's not all sunshine and roses, and it can be difficult, but you can be successful. And it helps with that imposter syndrome, having those role models as well to look up to.
No, absolutely. Definitely 100% agree. Thank you so much. Super interesting story as well. Right. Okay. So I think we may have a couple of questions in the Q&A box. So a couple of things have come up. So what tips would you give someone wanting to start their own business? I guess we'll go back to Suzanne on that one to begin with.
Hi. So the first thing is you need to really make sure that it's about the something other than the money. I think it's very important to know that you're going to have to do without. And I see a lot of businesses start and fail because they're set up by people in the sort of, for example, in my industry, there's a lot of money people setting up pet food companies because they've seen how well we've done, but they've started off with big salaries and big expectations. So if you do it for the money, you're probably less likely to succeed than if you do it for the passion. So make sure you find your passion. Try and understand that that you don't know it all. So find people who are experts. As women, we're so used to juggling so many things. We're so used to trying to cover off everything that we do make ourselves unwell, or we get stretched very, very thin. So find experts amongst your friends, or on recommendations of people like your bank manager and people like that. Networking is all very well, but you need to find the right networking event so that you're not just being sold things. And that's why Every Woman is a really, really great thing, because there doesn't seem to be any other reason for it than to support each other. So find a decent networking event where you can actually tap into somebody else's knowledge. Most importantly, don't do it all yourself. Don't do it for the money, and find your passion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you mentioned the Every Woman Network, and it's obviously a fantastic network. Did you have a mentor when you were setting up your business, or was it, no?
No.
Okay.
I made so many mistakes. I mean, obviously I've done, my business is great and we've done very, very well, and I've been enormously lucky. So I've done a lot of things that are right, but I made so many mistakes in that I should have got a peer mentor. Actually, I didn't necessarily need somebody, with a world of business experience to tell me how to do it. I actually needed somebody to talk to, because I couldn't talk to my family because I didn't want to scare them, and I couldn't talk to my staff because I didn't want to scare them. And I needed somebody to talk to, and for somebody to say, this stuff happens all the time, it's fine. My friends aren't from the business world, so it was really difficult not having that person to be in touch with. So find yourself a peer-to-peer mentor, or find yourself a business mentor, but find somebody who you can tell your deepest, darkest business fears to. And you can pick up the phone to and just have a wobble, because as we all know, as women, we can have a wobble and then we can, you know, get ourselves back together again and crack on with it. But you need that support. I didn't get it.
Absolutely. No, that's a really, really key point, I think. Claire, did you have that support when you were setting, obviously through the DSP program, we have that sort of inbuilt support into Amazon, but did you have any additional mentor outside of that?
I didn't. I had no one outside of the Amazon support that I got. I had a few friends who'd done this through Amazon, but it was mainly the support I got from Amazon. And having worked for Amazon, I had a few friends who were on the DSP team who I could turn to for some advice and guidance.
Oh, nice. And is there anything what tips would you give to someone wanting to start their own business?
I think for me, it would be to have somebody there with you from the start. To have what Suzanne said, to have somebody that you can talk to, somebody you can rely on, and to have that support network around you. Again, someone who you can talk to about your fears, because you don't want to talk to your family about it. You don't want to go to your partner, you know, when you've got a mortgage, you've got 2 really young children, you know, you've got financial commitments. You don't want to go, actually, I'm really nervous about this now. Or, you know, and you do have fears, you do have concerns. And as Suzanne's already said, you put a lot of pressure on yourself as well. And I think being female, you put more pressure on yourself, because certainly for me, I always felt like I've got to do more and I've got to prove myself more. So you've got that extra work. And I really do think it's to have somebody that you can talk to that's not family, somebody that's not, you know, who's there to sell you something or to take advantage of you. It's just having a confident.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much. There was a specific question when we touched on that sort of leap into business ownership about, did you have a plan of how to survive before you turned a profit? You sort of, Suzanne, you touched on the don't get in it for the money, don't expect to take a large salary, but obviously you must have had a plan at the beginning of how you were going to manage as you started up, with mortgage, bills, rent, whatever it may be, practical problems that obviously everybody's facing if they want to launch into the business world without a massive financial backing.
Well, I had a little bit of maintenance from my ex-husband, and I also I was on benefits when I set up Nutriment. I took a second mortgage out on my house, so I had some cash because the bank let me down the day before we signed the lease, and so I was literally living on thin air with the children and saving money by doing it all myself as much as possible. That's not for everybody. I mean, my business plan did have me having a cash flow, which meant I could actually get paid, but it got turned down for being too optimistic by the bank. And fortunately, we smashed every figure that was ever in there in my business plan. But so I haven't really got a great deal of advice. Most women, I mean, my accountant and my financial director have always said to me that I run the company like a housewife on a budget. And I'm not offended by that at all. Because if you've been a full-time housewife or a stay-at-home mum or the partner who has to do all of those things, you get really good at stretching something out of nothing. I don't have any serious practical advice on finances for setting up a business, I'm afraid.
No, that's okay.
I'll leave that one to the banks.
No, that's okay. That's super interesting though, Suzanne. It makes the success even greater, really, in reality, doesn't it? It's absolutely amazing.
I didn't take a salary for over 2 years. So.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's incredible. Laura, is this making you want to ditch Amazon and go and start your own business? Are you inspired?
On a daily basis, but I think you know, I'm in a really privileged position that I get to work with so many business owners. And I think something that Suzanne touched on earlier was when I look at, you know, Claire, top DSP in the UK, one of the top in the EU, like the thing that stands out, the successful ones that I work with on a daily basis from the ones that aren't so successful, and there are some, is that passion piece. I think people look at businesses or they look at the DSP program and think easy way to make money. They don't succeed, they won't succeed. Whereas the business owners that see it as their business, that drive it, that care about their people, that care about their drivers, that care about the customer, and have a real passion for logistics and a real passion for people are the ones that we see absolutely thriving. So I can't answer, I've never set up my own business, but you know, from an outsider perspective, it's so clear how much of a difference that passion for people and customers makes from the offset.
No, and I think we've seen that throughout it's like a thread or a theme running through all of the answers that you guys are giving, I think, which is really interesting as well. All right, fab. There's a couple of other questions. I think we sort of touched on some of them. We did talk about what was that moment when you said, I'm going to do it. You know, you pulled the lever, you pushed the button, you jumped off the cliff. Was there a light bulb moment? Was there that couple of minutes one day? Claire, what was your moment? Was it the middle of a night shift where you were just like, oh,
I can't do it anymore?
No, because I absolutely love night shift. And I loved the large team leadership on night shift, you know, 150 people, 90,000 parcels to turn around in 5 hours with no head count, and PMP agencies let you down with staff. It was days for me. It was sat on days behind a computer without that large team. And it was the realization of I'm now more admin. It was the move from nights to days. I had to move from nights to days because of the impact on my family. And it was that sat in front of a computer, just not seeing anyone, not talking to anyone. And I was just like, I just sat there and I was like, no, you know, and I'm watching all these companies deliver thousands of parcels. And I just thought, no, I want my team back. I want to be my boss. I want my team back. And that's what I want to do. I can't do it on night shift at Amazon because of the impact on my family. So it's now or never, Claire, off you go.
Yeah, awesome.
But I wanted that. I wanted that team back.
Yeah, and that can be a real driving factor. I'm currently managing a team just temporarily. I'm sort of babysitting them while the new manager comes in. I'm actually going to really miss them. It's only 5 or 6 people, but I'm really enjoying it. And I think, I feel a bit sad when they go to the new manager in a couple of weeks. I have to convince my boss for some more headcount for myself. But Suzanne, did you have that light bulb moment, that sort of the top of the cliff, take that plunge moment?
I guess so. I think between leaving my old job and setting up Nutriment was 8 weeks. Flash to bang. In 8 weeks, I went from thinking, oh, okay, I'm now unemployed, to here's the keys for my building. I've set up my own business. So wow. I think the idea came to me within 24 hours. Yeah. Because I quit out of a matter of ethics and principle, but then sat on my bed and thought, this is ridiculous. I need to earn some money and I need to, do something. And then a bunch of other staff quit within the next day or two, and said, well, you always said you could do it better. So are you going to do it better? And I went, yeah, that sounds fantastic. and then like 3 or 4 years later, sobered up. And it turns out it was quite a good idea.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Okay, there's a couple of other questions. Are there any events that you would recommend attending that you've seen throughout your sort of 7 or 8 years in business ownership? Suzanne, is there anything that you've been to that you think that was really valuable? For example, Amazon had a stand at the Women in Business and Tech Expo a couple of weeks ago, which was actually, I find it really beneficial personally. Even I'm not a business owner, but there was some really great speakers, some really great events, guidance, advice. Is there anything that you particularly think has been useful events wise?
Every Woman has been great for me, and that's given me introductions to support other areas like Ex-Forces. I'm a big fan of Ex-Forces. Try and spend some time with them. They set up companies for ex-military. Yeah. I'm a member of the WPO, which is the Women Presidents Organisation, which is specifically for entrepreneurs. And it's absolutely fantastic. We literally sit around once a month, and there's a process to it, but it's been It's been part of my life for the last couple of years, and it's been amazing because it really is that peer-to-peer, which I haven't really had before. So I'm loving that. But I would suggest, since COVID, there's so much online that you can dip in and out of. And I recommend dipping in and out of as many as you can. And you'll start to get a feel for the people who are actually talking to you.
Yeah.
And you'll find your people, I think, then.
Yeah. And then did you have any courses that you did on business management, or could you recommend any that you just winged it, didn't you?
I went to Sandhurst, love.
Yes, of course.
No, do you know what? Again, it sort of takes me back to the why don't you just find somebody to help you who knows what they're doing with that sort of thing. I haven't done any business courses. I have actually learned on the hoof, and I have been very fortunate enough that I've had people around me who knew a bit. I mean, we watched an awful lot of YouTube videos. We set up our own website, we set up our own database by watching YouTube, but get the help of experts rather than, set up a company, do a course, add more things to it. If you've got the courses already, amazing. But if you haven't, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. And I guess, Claire, probably your time in the RAF potentially supported that as well. Did you do anything specific, any business management courses, or no?
Absolutely not. None whatsoever.
And another question to Suzanne, did you ever think of quitting in those early days? That's in the chat. We've got a question from the audience.
No, probably no more than most mornings, but by the afternoon I was always a lot more cheerful, and because there was home time. No, actually, I think about quitting all the time. Let's be honest. I think about that beach in Bali. I think about
I think everybody does
from an iPad from somewhere beautiful. And every time I read about an entrepreneur on their yacht, I think, well, that sounds like a good way to go.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, and COVID really helped with this because I had to be in work every day. There was nowhere else to go. It's that I grew this in the same way that I grew my children.
Yeah.
And I love it and hate it in equal measures at equal times. But I'm not quite sure I could ever turn my back on it and walk away properly.
Nice. Thank you. And we had a question here specifically about the Amazon DSP program, about the level of support if you decided to join the program. I guess I'm going to turn that over to potentially Laura and Claire. I can speak to it as well, but obviously, Laura, I'll have to go to you first. Laura, you deal with a lot of the business owners. So in terms of once they're up and running, what does that look like?
I guess like one step back from that, when we're looking and sourcing potential business owners, and Gemma, you may be able to speak to this, we don't, and it kind of links to your last question, we don't look for people with specific previous business ownership experience. It's not something that you have to join the program, and actually we look at it more based on leadership principles, leadership ability and competence. So I think if anyone is thinking, oh, I can't start my own business because I've not done a business management degree, or I've never run my own business before, it doesn't matter. I think your question, Gemma, was more kind of what success looks like, or what
no, absolutely.
Or what support as well is given.
I think we have the business coaches, we have the account managers. So I think there's good support network there. So
there's a structure in place from onboarding to support you as a potential business owner with getting set up, and then when you launch in station, as Claire mentioned earlier, there's in-station management that supports day-to-day, and then you've got a dedicated account manager which can support with the more business program related pieces as well. I think there's always room for improvement, but for a program and a logistics partner, there is a phenomenal amount of support, and we do get that feedback from some of our business owners as well that are maybe on other contracts with other kind of last mile carriers as well, that there is a lot of support pre-setup and then post-setup as well if you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Claire,
I'm going to come to Claire
better.
And I just want to say that as well, at the moment, any female delivery service partner within the Amazon program gets free membership to every woman as well, in terms of like the sort of mentor network, business network support, which is awesome. But Claire, to you, how have you found the support that you've received?
It's been absolutely brilliant. I think to go and launch your own business, I think this is a great platform to do it within, because you do have that support right from, you know, the offset, and you have continued support as well. I think as well, we've got Ignite now as well, Laura, where we've just launched this great platform where we can all link in with other DSPs and ask questions of them. We can ask, you know, have you experienced this? How have you resolved this? And lots of videos on, you know, a day in the life of, and that's been a great tool as well for support. But you know, I've been supported from the offset. It's been absolutely brilliant.
There has been a question about experience and logistics experience. I will take that one. It's not necessary for the program. It's about that, as Susanna said, as Clara said, as Laura said, it's more about your passion for what you're doing, to get excited by it, to be driven by it, to have that desire to succeed. For particular program that we work on, it's not required to have specific logistics experience. We do like to see a little bit of management experience, a little bit of experience through the different workplaces, but we take from every background: hospitality, retail, manufacturing, obviously logistics as well, but we're quite flexible, which I think is why it's such a great opportunity for people that maybe want to start a business but maybe are lacking, have that confidence issue potentially, or that sort of fear of failure, or that lack of mentorship or network. This is actually a great way to sidestep those issues within this particular program. And as Laura touched on, we've seen some of our DSPs do expand and go obviously do contracts with other carriers as well. So there's some growth opportunity there as well. Okay, I don't want to, if there is, I can follow up the particular DSP questions offline with anybody that would like to connect. I'm very wary of time. I want to just touch on some of the poll results. Do we have those, Lucy? There we go. Thank you. It's like as if by magic. So we've got from our participants today, we've got 63% have said self-confidence or imposter syndrome. Then we've got the financial concerns, the business knowledge, as well as being flagged. And I guess this is what we've been talking about, right, all through this session. I do want to touch quickly on the imposter syndrome, because I think it's something that what men and women, to be fair, it's not specific to women, but that confidence, that idea, that imposter syndrome, that it impacts us and maybe stops us from doing what we should be doing and stops us from growing, I think it's worth touching on. I like to use the anecdote as well as the man that looks at the woman that looks at the job advert, looks at the 10 criteria, says, oh, I only meet 8 of those, I'm not going to apply. And the man that looks at it and says, oh, I only meet 3 of them, I'm definitely going to apply. And I think that's something that most of us can potentially relate to. And I personally relate quite strongly with imposter syndrome. Coming from the military straight into Amazon, I often feel that I'm missing 11 years of corporate experience to back me up, that my peers all have, and often think, and I've just been recently promoted, I often think, gosh, how have I managed that? How did that even go through? And it's constant in my head. So I definitely relate to this particular idea. So let's talk about that for a moment. And Laura, let's go to you first. Obviously, you've had some tough jobs, Aldi, managing lots of stores from a very young age, coming out of university. Did you ever experience moments like that where you thought, how am I faking it? Am I trying to fake it till I make it? How am I being perceived? Am I really this good, or is it, can you talk a little bit about your experience around that?
Honestly, Gemma, I think I still experience imposter syndrome on a daily basis. And I think I think men struggle with it as well, but I think I am my own worst enemy there. I think I'm very conscious of being the only female in a meeting, on video, in a room, the younger female. And to be clear, no one's ever, I think, treated me any differently for that. But I think I'm just really conscious of it, and then that can get in my own head and kind of eat me up a bit. I think when I look back, and it's easy to, it's difficult in the moment, isn't it? But when I look back, it's people that have pushed me that I think's really helped me. So like when I first you know, had the opportunity to step up to be a senior operations manager, I remember phoning Gaynor and being like, oh, this opportunity's just presented itself, but I'm not ready yet. I'll do it next year. And she was like, do it. Absolutely do it. What are you talking about? Best thing I've done, you know, and I was perfectly capable. But if I didn't have that other person at the end of the phone being a cheerleader saying you can do this, I don't think I would have had that opportunity, or I would have taken that opportunity even. So I think I still really struggle with imposter syndrome. I'm still really conscious of it. I, you know, try and fight it always. But I think my advice would be, if you don't have that, you know, mentor or that really strong person cheerleading you, then find that person, because often or always, I think everyone is more capable than they think they are. That could just be me, but I definitely have struggled with it, still struggle with it, but I'm really thankful for people that help me push through it, to be honest.
No, I completely can see that, and I think, and I agree. I agree 100%. I think it's really important to have that person. I also think as well that imposter syndrome, I think, happens more than we think. I think people in our team, people who work for us, who we work for, I think it impacts probably everybody to a certain degree. And I think sometimes that fear, or that little zone where you're in that bit of fear of failure, that where you're not 100% sure of yourself, I almost think that makes us better. That pushes us out of our comfort zone. We learn a new skill, and indeed, one of the solutions to imposter syndrome is to actually volunteer for things that you wouldn't normally do, to put yourself out there, which seems almost contradictory, but it helps to build that confidence.
I think respectfully, as well as a leader, supporting your team to push them a bit as well is really important. You know, you don't want to be volunteering them for things that you know they don't want to do, but I think being able to spot imposter syndrome within your team is really key as well, to kind of help them push through too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Suzanne, obviously starting a business from scratch with, we've talked about limited experience around actual business management, you know, funds low. Did you have moments where you had that self-doubt? And how did you overcome it?
I mean, imposter syndrome is my topic. I could talk all day on it. And the problem is that you think you're on your own. But I mean, as part of Every Woman, I'm one of the judges for the awards, and I sit, you know, in a room with some of the other judges. And honestly, ladies, these are rock stars. I mean, these are people that even people in business know who they are. And some of them have got crappy marriages, and some of them forgot to phone the plumber, and some of, you know, they're still women in every sense of the word. They got annoying kids, and they have to leave important business meetings early because their mum's on the phone because the telly's broken. You know, imposter syndrome exists in all of us, but what we need to do is we need to make it more normal for a woman to walk in the room and say, right, guys, you need to listen to me because I know my subject. I'm good at this. You will not hear anybody better telling you now what needs to happen. We need to practice saying that. We need to practice saying how terrific we are. And if we have a member of staff who is also struggling with that, then they need to have the kind of review where they will stand in front of you and say, this is what I am great at. And they need to use words about themselves which are great, talented, fantastic, you know, more than just serviceable and competent. It's our duty as employers to teach that, because we all know what it feels like to be the boss and secretly doubt yourself. This has been trained into us as children to think that we aren't quite good enough as somebody else that we see doing the job. So it is something that you're going to have to train yourself out of. Get over yourself. Tell somebody today that you're excellent. Tell somebody today how brilliantly you handled something, and don't tell stories about how well somebody else did something when you know deep down it was you. So every single day, find somebody to tell that you're great, and even if it's somebody who doesn't like the showing off or the boasting or the, you know, whatever you think it looks like, because people need to hear more women say how great they are, so it becomes the norm, so then they're not judged for it. And it's our responsibility as women in business to do that.
That's an amazing piece of advice. Absolutely, wholeheartedly agree. And I am dreadful at doing that. In fact, I had this yesterday, my manager congratulated me for something that I did, and I deflected to other people, went, oh yeah, but it wasn't really me. I should have just went, yes, absolutely, thank you so much, that's amazing, gold star.
Absolutely right. Go back in and see your boss and tell him that is your answer, and start again.
I totally agree with that, and I think if anybody has a chance to do the I Am Remarkable training, they do that exact activity where you have to outwardly say I am remarkable because of X, Y, and Z. It's really uncomfortable, so maybe we should just practice saying that in the mirror once a day. And we're sort of running out of time, but Claire, just very quickly, have you had this experience from going from the military to Amazon to your own business, like moments of self-doubt where you suffered from imposter syndrome potentially?
Absolutely, Gemma. But I think I use that to drive my ambition, and I use that energy, like I try and always turn it when I'm doubting myself, or when I'm thinking like, oh God, what am I doing? Or how have I got here? Well, do you know what? Yeah, I have got here. And yeah, I am one of the top UK DSPs, and I use it to keep pushing, and I instill it on my team to keep pushing them as well. And I
awesome.
Just to keep going forward.
Awesome. It's been, we are going to run out of time. There is a couple of questions left in the chat box. If anybody has anything specific about the DSP program, I think the questions are specific to that, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Gemma, you can find me, Gemma Jones, super easy on LinkedIn. And I can answer any questions that you may have about that. So that's absolutely not a problem. There's also some content on the Every Woman website regarding the DSP program as well that you can revert back to. But I'm going to hand over. Thank you so much. First of all, you've been an awesome panel, super interesting conversation, inspirational stories. I'm really chuffed that you guys could join us. I think it's been amazing.